He told me, "I choose you!" and hugged me. My name is Elena, and I never imagined that my life would change so drastically because of a party I wasn't even supposed to attend. I had been working as a housekeeper for Mr. Richard Blackwood for almost 2 years. He was a successful businessman, a widower who had lost his wife in a tragic accident 3 years earlier. His mansion in the hills was as cold and empty as his heart seemed to be, except for one bright light: Tommy, his 8-year-old son. Tommy was the sweetest child I had ever met. While his father buried himself in work, trying to escape the pain of losing his beloved wife Catherine, Tommy spent most of his time alone. That's where I came in. What started as just cleaning and organizing the house gradually became something more. I found myself reading bedtime stories to Tommy, helping him with homework, and listening to his innocent questions about why his mommy wasn't coming back. I always wore my simple blue and white uniform, with my bright yellow rubber gloves that Tommy said made me look like a sunshine helper. He would wait for me every morning by the kitchen window, his little face lighting up when he saw me walking up the driveway. "Elena," he would call out, running to hug my legs. "Will you make my favorite pancakes today?" And I always would, because in that big, lonely house, Tommy and I had found something precious: each other's company. Mr. Blackwood barely noticed me. I was just part of the furniture to him, invisible and efficient. He would nod politely when our paths crossed, but his eyes were always distant, lost in memories of a life that once was. I never dreamed that everything would change because of a conversation I accidentally overheard. I was dusting the library when I heard Mr. Blackwood on the phone with his business partner. "James, Tommy needs a mother figure, Richard," James was saying. "You can't keep living in the past. Catherine wouldn't want this for either of you." There was a long silence before Mr. Blackwood replied, "I know you're right, James, but how do I even begin? How do I find someone who could fill that void?" "Leave it to me," James said. "I know some incredible women. Beautiful, educated, perfect for your social status. Why don't you host a dinner party? Let Tommy meet them naturally. If he connects with one of them, maybe it's meant to be." My heart sank as I listened. Of course, Mr. Blackwood would choose someone from his world. Someone elegant, sophisticated, someone who belonged in this mansion. Someone who was everything I wasn't. The next morning, Mr. Blackwood called me into his office. I stood there in my blue and white uniform, my yellow gloves still damp from cleaning, feeling smaller than ever in that grand room lined with leather-bound books and expensive artwork. "Elena," he began, his voice formal and distant, "I'm hosting a dinner party this Saturday evening. There will be 5 special guests, all ladies, and I want everything to be perfect. Can you handle the preparations?" "Of course, Mr. Blackwood," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Will this be a business dinner?" He paused, and for a moment, his composed exterior cracked slightly. "No, it's personal. These ladies are being considered as potential companions for Tommy and me." The words hit me like a physical blow, but I managed to maintain my professional composure. "I understand, sir. I'll make sure everything is perfect." As he dismissed me, I felt my heart breaking. Not because I had harbored any romantic feelings for Mr. Blackwood. He was my employer, and I knew my place. But because Tommy, my sweet little Tommy, would soon have a new mother, someone who would replace the bond we had built over the past 2 years. The week that followed was torture. I threw myself into preparations, ensuring every detail was flawless. I polished the silver until it gleamed, arranged exotic flowers in crystal vases, and coordinated with the chef to create a 7-course meal. Tommy, oblivious to what was happening, helped me as always. "Elena, why is Daddy having such a big party?" he asked, handing me freshly ironed napkins. "Your daddy wants you to meet some nice ladies," I replied, my throat tight with emotion. "But I don't need to meet anyone," Tommy said innocently. "I have you. You're the nicest lady I know." I knelt down and hugged him, fighting back tears. "Tommy, honey, these ladies are different. They're elegant and beautiful, and they belong in your daddy's world. But you're beautiful too, Elena," he said, with the honesty only children possess. "And you make the best pancakes in the world. That's more important than being elegant, right? If only it were that simple." The day of the party arrived. I had been instructed to serve dinner and then retreat to the kitchen, staying out of sight. I was the help after all, not a guest. Saturday evening came, and the mansion was transformed into something magical. Soft lighting, elegant music, and the scent of expensive perfume filled the air. I watched from the kitchen window as 5 stunning women arrived, each more beautiful than the last. There was Victoria, a renowned artist with flowing auburn hair and a dress that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Then came Isabella, a successful lawyer with piercing blue eyes and confidence that radiated from every pore. Sarah, a doctor with gentle features and a warm smile, arrived next. Margaret, a socialite with perfect blonde hair and jewelry that sparkled like stars, stepped out of a luxury car. Finally, there was Amanda, a teacher with kind eyes and an outfit that screamed sophistication. Each woman was everything I wasn't. Polished, educated, wealthy, and perfectly suited for Mr. Blackwood's world. I served the first course with trembling hands, trying to be invisible as I moved around the table. The conversation flowed effortlessly, discussions about art galleries, charity galas, and exotic vacation destinations. I was pouring wine when I heard Tommy's small voice. "Daddy, where's Elena? Isn't she eating with us?" The table fell silent. Mr. Blackwood cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Tommy, Elena is working tonight. She's not a guest." "But she always eats dinner with me," Tommy protested, his voice getting louder. "She's family." Victoria laughed, a tinkling sound that somehow felt condescending. How sweet. Children do get attached to the help, don't they? My cheeks burned with embarrassment as I continued serving, pretending not to hear. "Elena makes the best pancakes," Tommy continued, oblivious to the social tension. "And she reads me stories, and she knows all about dinosaurs, and she never gets mad when I spill juice on the carpet." Isabella smiled patronizingly. "That's wonderful, darling. But Elena has her job, and we have ours." As the evening progressed, each woman tried to win Tommy over. Victoria showed him art techniques. Isabella explained basic law concepts. Sarah taught him about the human body. Margaret talked about traveling the world. And Amanda brought children's books. But Tommy remained polite, yet distant. He answered their questions, participated in their activities, but there was no spark in his eyes. Not like the light that appeared whenever he saw me. During dessert, disaster struck. Tommy accidentally knocked over his glass of juice, and it spilled across Margaret's expensive dress. "Oh no," Margaret exclaimed, jumping up. "This dress cost $3,000. Tommy's face crumpled and I saw tears forming in his eyes. Without thinking, I rushed forward with napkins, not caring that I was interrupting the dinner party. "It's okay, sweetheart," I whispered to Tommy, gently cleaning the table around him. "Accidents happen. Remember when I spilled flour all over the kitchen last week? We laughed about it, didn't we?" Tommy nodded, his tears stopping as I smiled at him. Margaret was still fussing about her dress when Tommy suddenly stood up on his chair. "Daddy," he announced in his clear, innocent voice, "I don't want any of these ladies to be my new mommy." The room fell dead silent. "Tommy, sit down," Mr. Blackwood said quietly, his face flushed with embarrassment. But Tommy remained standing, his small frame somehow commanding the attention of every adult in the room. "I want Elena to be my mommy," he declared, pointing at me with my yellow rubber gloves and simple uniform. "She's the one who takes care of me. She's the one who loves me." The silence that followed was deafening. I felt every pair of eyes in the room turn to me. Some shocked, others amused, and a few clearly annoyed. "Tommy." "That's impossible," Mr. Blackwood began, but Tommy interrupted him. "Why is it impossible, Daddy? You always told me that love is the most important thing. Elena loves me and I love her. Isn't that what makes a family?" Victoria laughed nervously. "Richard, perhaps you should explain to your son about social compatibility." But Tommy wasn't finished. With the brutal honesty of childhood, he continued, "Victoria, you told me art was more important than playing. Isabella, you said I should always follow rules and never make mistakes. Sarah, you made me feel scared when you talked about all the ways people can get sick. Margaret, you were mean about your dress. It was just juice. And Amanda, you brought me baby books. I'm 8, not 3. He turned to me and his voice became soft and loving. But Elena never makes me feel bad about anything. When I'm sad, she hugs me. When I'm scared, She stays with me until I feel brave. When I make mistakes, she helps me fix them without making me feel stupid. She doesn't care if I spill things or ask too many questions. She makes me feel like I'm the most important person in the world. Tears were streaming down my face now. I tried to speak, to explain that I was just the housekeeper, that this was impossible, but no words came. Mr. Blackwood stood up slowly, his face unreadable. "Ladies, I think we need to end this evening early. I apologize for this situation." The 5 women exchanged glances and began gathering their things. Margaret was still complaining about her dress. Victoria was muttering about inappropriate attachments, and the others seemed relieved to escape the awkward situation. As they left, Isabella paused at the door. "Richard, you need to establish better boundaries with your staff. This is exactly why professionals recommend maintaining distance." After they were gone, Mr. Blackwood, Tommy, and I stood alone in the dining room. The silence stretched between us like an ocean. "Tommy, go to your room," Mr. Blackwood said finally. "Elena and I need to talk." Tommy looked at me with worried eyes. "Elena, you're not leaving, are you?" I knelt down and took his small hands in my gloved ones. "I would never leave you by choice, sweetheart. But sometimes grown-ups have complicated decisions to make." After Tommy reluctantly went upstairs, Mr. Blackwood and I faced each other. I was still in my uniform, still wearing my yellow gloves, still very much the employee facing her employer. "Elena," he began, running his hands through his hair. "I don't know what to say. This is unprecedented." "I'm sorry, Mr. Blackwood," I managed to whisper. "I never encouraged Tommy to... I never tried to make him..." "I know," he said quietly. "That's what makes this so complicated." We stood there in that elegant dining room, surrounded by the remnants of the failed dinner party. And for the first time in 2 years, Mr. Blackwood really looked at me. Not through me, not past me, but at me. "Elena," he said slowly, "tell me something. When you tuck Tommy in at night, when you help him with his homework, when you comfort him after a nightmare, how do you feel?" The question caught me off guard. I love him, Mr. Blackwood. He's become like my own son. I know that's probably inappropriate, but I can't help it. He fills a part of my heart I didn't even know was empty." He nodded slowly. "And when you see him happy, when he laughs at your silly jokes, when he runs to hug you after school, what do you feel then?" "Complete," I whispered. "I feel complete." Mr. Blackwood walked to the window, staring out at the garden where Tommy often played. "For 3 years, I've been trying to fill a void. I thought I needed to find someone like Catherine, someone from our social circle, someone who fit the image of what a wealthy man's wife should be." He turned back to me, and I saw something different in his eyes, something I had never seen before: recognition. But tonight, watching those 5 accomplished women interact with my son, I realized something. They were trying to impress Tommy, trying to win him over like he was a prize to be claimed. They saw him as a stepping stone to me, to this lifestyle. He moved closer, and I instinctively stepped back, suddenly aware of the difference in our positions. "But you," he continued, "you never tried to impress him. You never saw him as anything other than a little boy who needed love and attention. You didn't care that loving him wouldn't advance your position or increase your salary. You loved him simply because he needed to be loved." I couldn't speak. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "Elena, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be completely honest. If money and social status weren't factors, if you could choose any life you wanted, would you want to be Tommy's mother? Really and truly?" The tears came again, but this time they were tears of hope mixed with fear. "Mr. Blackwood, I would give anything to be Tommy's mother, but I'm just a housekeeper. I don't have education, or money, or social status. I can't give him the life he deserves." "Can't you?" he asked softly. "Elena, in 2 years you've given Tommy something that all my money couldn't buy. Unconditional love, security, and happiness. You've given him a mother's heart when his own mother couldn't be here to do it. He reached out and gently took off my yellow rubber gloves, holding my hands in his. I've been blind, Elena. I was so focused on finding someone who looked right on paper that I missed the woman who was already perfect for my son, the woman who was already part of our family. My heart stopped. What are you saying? I'm saying that Tommy chose correctly. He chose with his heart, not his head. And maybe it's time I learned to do the same. He dropped to one knee right there in the dining room, still holding my hands. Elena Martinez, will you marry me? Will you officially become Tommy's mother and my wife? Will you help me turn this house back into a home? I stared at him in shock, unable to process what was happening. This was like something from a fairy tale. But fairy tales didn't happen to housekeepers in blue uniforms, but the difference in our stations. I began. The only difference that matters, he interrupted, is that you know how to love unconditionally, and I'm still learning. You're not beneath me, Elena. You're above me in every way that truly counts. Tommy's voice from the stairway made us both turn. Elena, did you say yes yet? We laughed as we realized he had been listening the whole time. I haven't answered yet. I called back to him. Well, hurry up. Tommy giggled. I've been waiting. My whole life for you to be my real mommy. I looked at Mr. Blackwood, at Richard, and saw not my employer, but a man who had finally learned that love doesn't recognize social boundaries. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Tommy came running down the stairs and threw himself into our embrace, and for the first time since I started working in that mansion, it truly felt like home. 6 months later, I walked down the aisle of a small chapel, not in an expensive designer gown, but in a simple white dress that Richard said made me look like an angel. Tommy was our ring bearer, beaming with pride as he officially got the mother he had chosen with his pure, innocent heart. The 5 ladies from that dinner party, they read about our wedding in the society pages and couldn't believe that the housekeeper had won. But they never understood that this wasn't about winning or losing. This was about a little boy who knew that love matters more than money, and 2 adults who learned that the most precious things in life often come in the simplest packages. Sometimes, the most beautiful love stories begin not in ballrooms or fancy restaurants, but in kitchens and playrooms, written not with grand gestures but with small acts of daily devotion. And sometimes, the wisdom of a child can see what adult eyes miss, that a mother is not chosen by status or wealth, but by the size of her heart.
Did you like this story? Then like and follow the channel for more stories like this.